If you are planning a backpacking trip to the Pictured Rocks area in Michigan's Upper Peninsula along the North Country Trail, you have a lot of options on where to camp. There are 11 different camping zones and 6 additional zones for large group camping. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that for this video, I'm only going over the sites that are along the North Country Trail. There are a couple of other campgrounds a little bit off the trail, but those typically don't make up part of a backpacking trip itinerary, so I'm leaving those out. Each one of the camping zones has somewhere between 3 to 6 individual reservable sites. Now, each one of these camping zones is not created equal, and each one of the campsites within the zones also is not created equal. Some are definitely better than others. In this video, we're going to take a look at each one of the camping zones and each one of the sites within each zone, and I'm going to show you the fire pit, the bear box, the water situation, the latrine situation, to help you make an informed choice when you're planning your trip. I'm going to review the zones one at a time, starting on the east end of the trail and working my way west, ending up in the Munising area. Stay tuned to the end of the video as well, because I'm going to reveal my top 5 favorite campsites in the whole place. So let's get started. Heading from Grand Marais, the first camping area you'll come to is the Mass Homestead. We're going to go take a quick check of that one. You just walk a short way up the side trail and you come to the sign, left to the group site, right to the individual sites, and we are here. It's really just a brief walk to the right to get to the site. Let's check it out. We've got the bear box over here, and here is site 1. Site 1 is right next to the fire area, and you've got site 2 here, and then site 3 is over here. So all these sites look like they're decent, and they're all very close to the fire ring, and your bear box is right there. Yeah, so here's the big hill to the view. You might think you can just go over there and get water, but no. It's a pretty view, but man, it's a steep climb, and the water is way in the distance, like way too far to get. Here's the latrine. Not bad. It's secluded. It's got 2 sides to it, and well away from camp, so you got some privacy. You can see it from camp, but with those wooden sides you'll have some privacy. So overall thoughts on Homestead: 3 decent sites, nice fire ring. They are somewhat out in the open. You don't have a whole lot of privacy here. Not any practical access to water that I can see anyway. So there are a lot better sites here. If it's the only spot you can get, maybe consider it, but otherwise, this one is not my favorite. All right, here's the Homestead group site, and got a bear box right here. You have the fire pit and plenty of spots for tents. I could see putting a lot of tents around here. Not very well used. Doesn't look like it gets a lot of usage. And way off in the woods is a latrine. Latrine's quite a ways back there, so you got a lot of privacy. I would say if you're willing to make spots, you could probably put, I don't know, 7-8 tents here pretty comfortably, and then a lot more if you wanted to kind of rough it a bit. And then again, similar to the other one, the individual sites, up this huge climb, you're gonna have a great view, but no water unless you really want to walk about, an hour. All right, so group site, not too bad, but again, I think there's other better sites out here. A couple miles past that log slide is Ausable East, and this one has both an individual and a group site. Just 30 feet off the trail or so is the sign where you've got a trail that goes left to individual sites and right to the group site. We will check out the individual sites first. Not far at all, probably less than 100 yards from the turnoff. We are here, there's the bear box, and then campsite number 1, flat, easily fit 2 tents there. Site 1 is right by the fire ring, which plenty of seating, tons of seating. You can fit a bunch of people around this fire area. Then I've stayed in one twice, and I really like this spot. It's just right out there. It's right by everybody when they're out by the campfire, but down here a little ways, this is site 2. This is great. Like, if I was going to stay here and had my choice of sites, I'd probably take this one. It's very secluded, really nice flat spot. And then over here, walk a little ways, Here's site 3. This is also pretty decent, and just right up the hill there's the fire pit, so not too far. And I'm gonna shut this off for a second and go to the next one. Marker for site 4 here, just for perspective. There's the fire pit. 1 is on the other side, 2 and 3 are over there. And then let's go back here. This is where you're supposed to camp for site 4, I believe. Then if we just walk back a little bit, oh, there's some people down there. Yeah, so site 5 is down there, and site 6 is right here. This one, site 6, is not the flattest in the world. Probably my least favorite one, but these two sites have their own firing as well. My experience has been, though, that most of the people actually gather around over here. Here's the latrine for the individual sites. Now those sites are back up that way, just a short walk. It's not far at all. And you've got the privacy of 2 sides. I think somebody could accidentally walk up on you here, but if you hear somebody coming, just give them a shout. One last look before we head over to the group site. I love this spot. I've stayed here a couple times. Always plenty of people sitting around the campfire having a good time. The sites are spread out enough that you're not stepping on one another. Really like this a lot. Here's the Ausable group site. It is a little bit of a hike, a couple hundred yards off of the turnoff, and come through here, and as you can see, open area, a couple of bear boxes, and just all kinds of camping. Like you could fit, like the 2-person tents, you could fit 20 of them back here with no problem. And the latrine is off to the left. So not bad, decent firing, plenty of room to sit. This is a pretty nice spot. Let me quick show you guys where the water is too for both these sites at Ausable East. We're back at the sign once again, and for water, you simply just turn around and the lake is right here. So, you know, it's a little walk right here, and you've got to climb down a little bit, but it's kind of stepped and you can get down there. The calmer the water is, the easier it is. I've been here on a day when it's like flat. It's super easy to get water. Today is kind of not too bad. I've also been here on days when the water and waves were awful, and that can be quite a challenge. You really got to be careful so you don't fall in or lose your scoop or your water bottle. But anyways, the water in Lake Superior, fantastic. Some of the best water you'll have anywhere. Just filter it is all. Now we're at Benchmark, and if you go over to the right, you've got tent site number 1. Then over here, tent site number 2, tent site number 3, and then over here, tent site number 4. They're all fairly decent. There is a bear box right here in the middle of all of them, and then a decent fire pit. Not a ton of seating, but a little bit. And we're going to go check out the last 2 sites. Here's tent site number 5, and my thought is I would not want to be down here if it was raining. This looks like it would pool up, maybe up there, but there's not a lot of room, so maybe 5 might not be the best. And coming over here, this is tent site 6. This has a little bit more space. This one's pretty nice. This is probably my favorite of Benchmark, would be number 6. You got these pine trees giving you some cover. And then this also has its own bear box, and it also has its own fire pit. A little bit more seating by this one. Decent fire pit. So overall, Benchmark, not bad at all. It is literally on the trail. And normally these are a little bit further off the trail than this. But if I show you, here's a couple of tents. And this is the trail. So it's probably 15 feet off the trail. This particular site, number 4. And the other ones are pretty close as well. So I want to show you the water source. If you look back behind this site here, we've got site 3. And just hold on 1 minute. There is a little trail that will take us up and over the ridge. Then I'll show you the walk down to the water that you have. Here's the walk down to the water. It is not too bad. It's a little bit steep, but doable. And you're gonna have to get your feet wet to get the water out of Lake Superior. But again, Lake Superior water is fantastic. One last thing on Benchmark, wanted to show the latrine. So camp is way over there. So the latrine is on the opposite side of the trail. It's a little hike to get back here, but it's completely exposed. You've got no walls. And if somebody walks over this little hill, they're gonna get a surprise. So make everyone in camp well aware that you're going to take a dump if you're coming over here. Otherwise you might have visitors. Wrapping up Benchmark. Overall, pretty decent. My favorite site is probably site number 6, although every single one of them looks fine. Plenty of room. And we're gonna move on to the next one then. Hey guys, we're at 7 Mile Group campsite here. This one is directly on the trail, and right off the trail is a bear box and a pretty nice fire pit. And then if you look around, you've got tent sites there, back there, up there, over there, plenty over here. Again, you could put a lot of people in the site if you wanted to. The trail to the privy goes right out the back of the camp. This is the 7 Mile pit toilet. No walls around it, but it's secluded. It's probably maybe 150 yards behind the camp. If I look back this way, I can't even really see the camp through the trees at all. So you have privacy back here. It's not bad. So the trail you can see is right here. There's the sign, and here's the camp. So you're like right on the trail. So let's take a quick look where the water is. There's a path that goes this way. You just go down these steps, and then there's a little path right down to the beach. So it's right here. Your water source is Lake Superior. Again, great water. Today would be a challenge if you look at those waves, but good water here. Overall, for 7 Mile group site, if you have a decent sized group and you want to camp here, I like it. You're right on the trail, so you don't have all the privacy in the world, but it's a pretty nice spot to put a nice group of people, easy access to water, a nice toilet, fire pit. I don't see anything wrong with this one at all. We're at 7 Mile individual site. Again, right on trail. So fire pit there, bear box right there. Site 1 at 7 Mile is tucked away back in the woods, a little bit off the trail. Very nice site. You got nice seating here. No fire ring or anything, but the fire ring is up toward the front. I like this spot. Site 2 at 7 Mile, fairly well protected from some trees. Looks nice and flat, and you've got a little seating area for doing your cooking. So I think this one looks like it'd probably be best for one tent. You might be able to squeeze a second one up here that's not as flat, but overall a decent spot. Site 3, just off to the left a little bit. This is not as even as the other one, so of the 5 here, this is probably my least favorite, but still decent. Kind of walk back down the trail heading east, and there's a bridge and a stream. This is where sites 4 and 5 are, so you have to walk a little bit away. So there's a sign that says sites 4 and 5. I'll take you back here real quick. Here's site 4, right below this ridge. Nice protection from the trees, and along this river. I would just say this is spectacular, this particular site. This is awesome. 5 is just past 4, same thing, right along the water. This spot is amazing. Here's your water source for 7 Mile individual. This stream looks great, very easy water access. So wrapping up 7 Mile, campsites 4 and 5, premier campsites out here. Highly recommend. Really a nice spot overall. What I would say is I could not find the privy anywhere, and I looked on the map and somebody had drawn on there that it's back up toward the group campsite, which is not too far away. It's a brief walk, a little bit farther than what you would normally have, but I did not see a privy anywhere close to this one. Now we're at the Pine Bluff individual camping area, and the sign leads us right back this way. So you're looking at maybe 30-40 yards off trail and you get to the fire pit. Fire pit area is kind of in the middle of all the campsites. Plenty of seating. Nearby is the bear box, and then directly to the right of that is site number 1. 1 is okay. The sites are a little bit not so level, but not too bad. Then site 2 is right adjacent to it, and I like this one a little bit better. Got a little bit more protection from the pine trees, and also I think this spot is a little bit more level than what site 1 is. Site number 3 is just behind or just beyond the fire pit and bear box, and then the path to the latrine is behind here, and that's the only thing with site 3. It's a pretty flat spot, but you can have people walking through your campsite to go use the bathroom. Another latrine with no walls, although this is quite a ways behind the campsite. The trail winds around to the left and then you take a right and it's here. So although you don't have any walls protecting you, it's quite a ways back. You'll have privacy back here. This is site 4, which is a little bit left of the fire ring and the bear box. It's pretty flat and it's nice sandy soil, so probably should offer some decent drainage in case of a rainstorm. 5 is back a ways, so you're going to have a nice secluded spot if you choose site 5 at Pine Bluff. I would say my favorite sites here would be 2 and 5. Okay, I just realized I didn't take any video of the water source at Pine Bluff. It's no problem at all. It's Lake Superior. You just walk right out of the camping area. It's a very short walk. You walk down to the beach and you grab water from Lake Superior. That is your water source at Pine Bluff. If you're coming from the east, this is the first sign you're going to see for Beaver Creek. Don't go down this trail. Keep going, because the trail is going to take you a lot closer to the campground. I just walked back here a long ways and the trail kind of splits off, and it's not marked. I can see spots where people got frustrated and just stealth camped because they couldn't find it. I've stayed here before, and that's why I was scratching my head, because I'm like, well, this was right on trail. What's going on? So I am going to keep going on the trail a little bit, and then I'll show you what it looks like when you walk into camp. So I'm on the trail, and it literally takes you right to the campground. I don't know what that other trail is all about, but I would ignore that first sign and come right in. Site 1 at Beaver Creek has room for a couple of tents, relatively flat. The road to the privy kind of goes through it, so that's one downside. Here's site 2, Beaver Creek. This one has a bench. Very flat, like the sandy part 2, because if it rains, that should help absorb some of the moisture. And it has a decent amount of privacy. Beaver Creek Site 3 is very spacious. You have a lot of options for where you want to set your tent. And some towering pines giving you some shelter from the sunlight. Alright, this is Site 4, nice and flat. Although there's a lady who reserves this all the time, so don't take it from her, please. Then Beaver Creek Site 5, currently occupied, it looks like. Again, plenty of room for putting your tents. Couple of trees for some shelter, nice bench over there for your gear. Beaver Creek 6 is kind of off on its own a little bit to the east, and this spot over on this side looks a little bit low. I probably wouldn't set my tent there if it was going to rain, but overall I like this one too. You got plenty of room, easily fit a couple of tents in here, some logs for sitting down on. Not bad at all. The privy does not have any walls, but it is quite secluded. My hint to you would be, look for this big block of pine trees, because there are a lot of trails kind of winding through here, And if you go straight back and then to the left, you'll find it. There are a couple things I really like about this camping area. Well, you've got the bear box there, but one of them is this fire pit. It's kind of off away from everybody. It's right by where the trail goes through, and it's real nice. Beautiful view over the water. But let me show you the other thing I really like. If you look over this way, this is where the sun sets, and you're kind of on this point and you can watch the sunset in the evening. Spectacular. And now to get water, you just simply climb down this little hill, and you can either grab it out of that creek or you can walk a little bit further down and grab it out of the lake. But beautiful spot. So just a quick summary on Beaver Creek. Overall, this is a camping zone I would highly recommend. Well, I really like it a lot. Beautiful sunsets, nice, wide open in terms of flat camping spot. I like this one a lot. Now we're at Coves. The camping area is just down the trail a little ways, not too far. This is the individual camping area. And if we just take a look, I'll turn around right off the trail and walk up to this section. You've got a climb down this hill, and the water's right there. So you have a little bit of a tough climb down and back up, but your water's going to be Lake Superior. Here's another cove site. Somebody's in it, so I don't want to go tromping through it. Coves 2 is decent. Occupied right now, but plenty of room for your tent. Coves 3 is okay. There's one flat spot here. That looks like it might get a little wet if it rains. Other than that, I guess there's another flat spot here as well. Coves 4 is nice. It's got some a little bit higher up spots, so this looks like a good one if it was going to rain. Water will kind of run off around you. Coves 5 has a nice flat spot for a tent. A couple of logs to sit down on, although these may be moved by the time you get here. They're not permanent. Coves fire pit is toward the front when you first walk in, and then the bear box is back here just a little ways, just a short walk from the fire pit. Now, this may get reconfigured over time, but as of right now, I mean, there's some spots to sit. I've seen nicer fire areas. And then there's another smaller fire pit way back here at the very back of Coves. What I don't see is a privy, but I'm gonna look at the map, see if I can figure out where it is. So according to the bear box, the privy should be back this way. I honestly don't see it or a sign for it, and there were a couple of people here, and I don't think they want me tromping through, so let's just assume you'll find it when you're here. I guess overall thoughts on Coves, it's decent. It's probably middle of the pack. I've seen some that are worse. I've seen some that are better. It would not be my first choice if I was camping in this area, but not bad overall. Got Coves Group, and Coves Group and Coves Individual are about 1.5 miles apart. Whereas many of these are close together, this one is not. I can see from here that the camping area is just off the trail by, maybe 50 or 60 yards. Let's go take a look. At Coves Group, you've got the bear box, and then right over here is a fire ring with some seating, and then there's a bench, and then the camping area. There are several places to camp. Again, like all the other group spots, you could put a bunch of tents here if you wanted to. The one issue I see with Coves Group is I don't see any access to water. There is a view over the cliff of Lake Superior, but no way to get down that I could see. Just a quick clarification here. On the website, Coves Group has Lake Superior listed as the water source. I did not see any easy access to water, but I'm assuming I just missed a side trail or something. Otherwise, they would not have Lake Superior listed as the water source for this camping area. Here's the privy. It's actually facing away from the trail, so if somebody needed to use it, they'd sneak up behind you. It's a nice view. The path to the privy goes through here. There are some trees down covering it at this point, but I just walked back there and found it. You just got to walk around the trees and you'll see clearly there's a pretty wide path that'll take you right to it. It's far enough away from camp that you have privacy. Of all the group camps I've seen so far, I'd say Coves Group, I'd rank it toward the bottom of the list. It's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, but this place has so many amazing places to camp that this one probably just ranks lower. It's kind of like a bad pizza. All pizza is good, but some of them are just better than others. Chapel Beach camping area. And if you like good views where you camp, this is going to be your spot right here, folks. This is a fantastic beach, just gorgeous. Chapel Beach 1 comes with a small seating area and a spot for one tent. It is not the flattest site of the ones out here, I don't believe. But I like the fact that if you just walk right here, you have fairly easy access to the water. There is a beaver hut right here, so if Lake Superior is warm enough, you might want to use that as a better water option. Chapel Beach Site 2. You've got a nice spot for your tent. Probably fit another one back here. Good seating area. And again, like site number 3, it is along the river, and there just so happens to be a couple of ducks on the river. Chapel Beach 3, really nice secluded spot, and it's overlooking the stream. This is a beautiful spot. Chapel Beach 4 has plenty of room for seating, about the most seating as I've seen at one individual site. It has a bear box real close by, and also plenty of room for putting several tents. Here's site 5 at Chapel Beach, and a lot of flat area here. You can fit several tents, nice pine needles, little seating area. Like this site a lot. Chapel Beach 6, there's a bear box that is by the trail, and then you turn around and you look at the site itself. Very large, nice soft pine needles on the ground, plenty of room. These people put 3 tents in this spot last night, although you're only supposed to put 2. Overall, pretty nice spot. The latrine for Chapel Beach, at least the one that we were using, is right off the beach, and you just follow this path back, and it is a actual 2 outhouse thing. You got to bring your own toilet paper though, but probably the best latrine of any campsite out here. And this is what the Chapel Beach bathroom situation looks like when you get there. And again, you got to bring your own toilet paper. There was none in there, but a lot more privacy than some of the other spots. Chapel Beach overall, I think, is a great spot. It's got a wonderful view of the beach. Most of the sites are really close to a stream for getting water, and they're very well spread out, probably about as spread out as any of the camping zones that we've seen here. So I like this one a lot. Next up, Mosquito River individual sites. I'm gonna take you for a look at these. Site 1 at Mosquito River has a bench, and it comes with its own red squirrel. Hey buddy. This is not the flattest site I've ever seen. You could probably put a tent right there in front of the bench. It's only about 30 yards off the main trail, so very close to the lake. Site 2 at Mosquito River, quite a bit flatter than Site 1. Also a decent seating area for cooking and hanging out. I like this one a lot. Site 3 at Mosquito River, this is pretty prime back here. Really nice protection from the trees. The spots are a little bit bumpy. Decent spot to sit and hang out. And then also right down the hill, you've got access to the stream for gathering water. It's stained, so if you want clear water, you're probably better off heading out to the lake. This particular site at Mosquito River, there's a metal plate over where the site marker would be. I'm not sure what's going on. This looks like a decent site. If we walk in, you can see a small bench. It looks like there's been activity here recently. I'll have to look this one up. But if this is open for camping, it's a decent spot. Mosquito River Site 5, little seating area. Probably just over to the left would be the best spot to pitch your tent. Fairly flat. Another little spot here. So you could easily fit 2 tents in decent flat spots at Site 5. Site 6 is off on its own a little bit, and decent seating. Nice shade from this tree in the middle of the campsite. I have camped at this spot. I do like it. and you have easy access to the river, or you can take a brief walk to the lake as well. Bear Box is kind of in the middle of everything at Mosquito River. So you see it says mice are getting in here. I can attest to that. It was 2 years ago when we stayed here and there was a mouse orgy going on. I don't know how they're getting in, but I opted to hang my food. So if you're staying at Mosquito River, I suggest bringing a rope so you can hang your food. Plenty of good food hanging trees here. Mosquito River lake access, you can either go down these rocks, or if you head west down the trail a bit, it comes out by the river. You go across a little bridge and you can get toward a little bit of deeper portion of water. Nice outhouse at Mosquito River, fully enclosed. Bring your own toilet paper. My overall thoughts on Mosquito River, I think the camping here is fantastic. The downside is there are no campfires, which on a nice night, who cares? But some nights it gets really cold up here, so it's nice to have a fire. There is decent access to water. When it's very windy, it can be a challenge to get water out of Lake Superior. However, there is access to a river very close to camp, and you can use that as well. So, like this camp quite a bit. Mosquito group site. Let's take a look. Here's a food storage on my mosquito group. And just turning around. A nice little spot here for sitting around. Somebody looks like they had a fire, but you're not supposed to. Plenty of spots for putting tents. Maybe not quite as many spots as some of the other group sites, but you could still put a bunch of tents here if you had to. Mosquito group restroom appears to be closed, unless you want to pry those off of there, but I'd be afraid of what's inside. Overall impression on Mosquito group, it's fine, right on trail. Downside is you can't have fires. Upside is you got some great views, easy access to water. I know the first bathroom is closed and there's a second one. I looked all over. Honestly, I can't find it, but I'm sure if you were camped here, you could spend the time and figure out where it is using the map. We're at Potato Patch. The trail goes up this way and it is a long walk up to the camping area. All right, I made it, and it's really not as long as I remember. I must have been really tired the day I camped here because I stepped it off and it's only about 200 yards. You've got a fire ring area here. You've got the bear box at the entrance, and then the bathroom is this direction. And there's one issue with the bathroom that I'll show you. So here's the pit toilet, and it's kind of out in the open. And if you look back this way, right over here is the trail in. So if you're sitting on the toilet and somebody comes walking into camp, you're gonna be like, hey, how's it going? That's the only problem with this. Potato Patch only has 3 campsites, so you won't have a huge crowd with you when you're here. Number 1 is tucked back. It's the furthest one away from the entrance. Couple logs for sitting on and plenty of open flat spots for putting your tents. Site 2 at Potato Patch, also decent, plenty of flat spots. Looks like somebody tried to make a campfire here, which I don't understand because there's a fire ring right at the entrance. I don't know why you'd do that. This is Site 3 at Potato Patch. In my opinion, the tenting spots are not quite as flat, but they're definitely flat enough that you wouldn't be uncomfortable here by any means. This one comes with some seating, and what's best about this particular campsite is the view. You just have this beautiful view of Lake Superior. Now overall with Potato Patch, it's nice because it's secluded and you can have campfires, and there's not a whole lot of there's only 3 campsites, so you're not going to be packed in. The downside to this one is there's no water. So if you're coming from the east, you'll need to get water at Mosquito River and dry camp. Now just one more thing on Potato Patch. This is just east of the entrance to the trail. And there is a creek that goes down here with easy access. I believe this is seasonal because last fall I was here and I don't remember any water coming through here. So it's May 17th today. If you're coming here in early May, you might have this creek to rely on for water, but I'd be a little bit careful because there's no guarantee. Cliffs group. Now, let's go take a look, see what we're dealing with. It's a couple hundred yards off trail. You come to the bear box, then At the time of filming this, there are a bunch of downed trees. I'm assuming the spring crews will be on this in short order. I gotta climb over this. You've got a fire ring with some seating, a few flat spots for tents, and then immediately to the left is the privy, and I'm gonna go up and check this out and show you what this looks like. There's your privy, no walls, but it does have a little bit of privacy because it's up over the hill just behind the camp. And you'll hear somebody coming, so you can always shout if there's an intruder about to spy on your business. If you keep walking another 50 yards or so, there are a few more flat spots where you could put a tent. However, I would be very leery about going into the spot in the middle, even if it's not muddy. Clearly, when it rains, this has water that pools up. So probably best to avoid this. So my overall impression of Cliff's group, I don't know, there's really not a ton of space here relative to some other group sites I saw. You could fit some tents, but it looks like if it rained heavily, some people were going to be kind of in trouble with where their tent was at. And there's no water. Now, I did see way off in the distance down this hill, I don't know if you can see it down there, it looks like there's a big stagnant pool of muck. So some of you former Arizona Trail or CDT hikers are probably like, oh yeah, that looks great to me. But for the rest of us, that looks gross. So you got to pack your water in if you're staying at Cliff's group. One more quick note on Cliff's group. So probably 0.3, 0.4-ish to the west of Cliff's group is this little stream. This looks very seasonal to me. So May 17th, 2022, this is flowing lightly. We are at Cliff's individual site. Now this one is listed as having no access to water, but if you walk about 5 minutes to the east, there is a stream, and I have a video of it. This is from May 17th. It's running pretty solid. It might be seasonal, but at least at this point in the year, you should have access to water from there. If it gets deep into summer, you definitely are going to want to bring a full pile of water with you. Cliff's is off trail a bit, maybe 150 yards, but here's site one, and one for sure flat spot. Finding a second flat spot for a second tent might be a challenge. If you've got two people, I would probably pick a different site than one. Here's two. This looks a heck of a lot better for multiple tents. You could easily fit two tents here. Very flat, looks great. Cliff's 3. Also pretty flat. You could put a couple of tents here, although I'll say this does look like it pools in a rainstorm. If you're gonna be here in the rain, choose your spot carefully. Now the other thing about 3 is the road to the bathroom is right through your campsite, so the people from the other two sites are going to be tromping right by your tents every time they have to take a dump. Here's the privy for Cliff's individual sites. The funny thing is, I can clearly see site 3 from over there. So if you are sitting on here and there are people camping in site 3, if you're wearing bright clothing, they'll know you're here. So general overview and impression of Cliff's individual site. Got a nice fire pit, room for plenty to sit around the fire. You've got a centrally located bear box, and the sites are spread out enough that you have your privacy, although it's somewhat open, so you will be able to see your other campers. This is not bad at all, and decent spot to camp. You don't have access to water, although there is a seasonal stream, a couple of minute walk to the east from here. But overall not bad. I would stay here, definitely, especially if I had just started out and had a full couple liters of water to get me through to the next day. Absolutely. So there you have it. Every camping zone and every campsite along the North Country Trail in the Pictured Rocks area. Hopefully you'll find this valuable as you're planning your next trip. And as promised, here are my top 5 favorite campsites in the whole area. Number 5 is Mosquito River, site number 3. Number 4 is Beaver Creek, site number 4. Number 3 is Chapel Beach, site number 3. Number 2 is 7 Mile, number 4. And number 1 is 7 Mile, number 5. These last 2 sites are just spectacular, so if you can grab them, I say go get them. Now keep in mind, this is all subjective, so you may like some of the sites better than others. You may have a different top 5 than what I have. Now don't worry if you can't get one of these prime sites, because most of the sites up there are very, very good. And the hike itself is spectacular, so you're gonna have a great time no matter what, as long as the weather cooperates. As always, if you found any value in this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks, and we'll see you out on the trail.